Hey, Chica.
Hi,
How are you? Holy crap.
I'm good. We haven't been on Skype in a while.
Oh my God, I know.
Been
You've
like
been
over a
busy.
month.
I don't see you.
You can't see me?
Mm-hmm. I wonder if I did that. Yeah, I did that. There you are.
Okay.
Things are settled down for you, though. Probably don't have to
Yeah.
tell them. You probably don't have to tell anybody why. It's none of their damn business.
No, I just had a family member pass away. And
Yeah.
so it was just it's everybody readjusting to a new normal. And yeah,
Yeah.
never a good thing. Or, I guess like it wasn't horrid or horrible, and it wasn't like horribly shocking or anything like that. It was beautiful for what it was. But anytime you lose someone you love, and it's never an easy thing. And
Yeah.
for my husband's side of the family, the first time for them, so it's even harder for them. So yeah, just but yeah, anyway, I'm
I'm
back.
very sorry that happened because it
Yeah,
sucks and I understand.
yeah. I try not to dwell on it too much. We've been okay. We've been good. But
Yeah.
it's affected my husband more than what I thought, I guess. So it's been harder than just everyday life has been a little bit harder.
Yeah. It's
But
to be
that's okay.
expected. It's to be expected, though.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I guess the
when people,
hardest part for me on that is I know what to expect because I've experienced a lot of like death and people passing in my life. So I know kind of what to expect, but when someone doesn't know what to expect, I guess the hardest part for me is just watching them go through that, knowing that they're going through that, knowing that they're not. I guess the first time you experience anything, there's like a shock that goes with it. And I feel bad
really,
for,
really, are you
yeah.
sure? Sure, he's
And
not just nuts and he needs to be committed.
yeah. Um, so 1 second. What? Yes, I am recording. I already said this to you guys inside. What do you need? Sorry, my son. It doesn't matter how many times you tell them something. They still don't quite hear it unless you make them make eye contact.
Yeah,
Anyway,
grief is funny like that. Grief hits you in these huge waves, and it's nobody else's journey. You just take
yeah,
it however it comes, and
yeah,
you grieve whatever loss you have, however you can.
yeah, yeah.
And
And it doesn't,
it's nobody else's business.
yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing too is doesn't matter how much you prepare people for what they're going to experience, and it's still like that first time is just horrid. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
this
I
wasn't
like,
something that was expected, really.
yeah, yeah, yes.
So it
And we
was
knew
sort
it
of
was kind of
sort
coming.
of
I mean,
like
it was fast, but
it was kind of like a blindside.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But how have you been?
Um, I've been all right. I'm slowly and surely um coming out of the darkness,
Yeah,
shall I say.
yeah.
Life is looking good. There's a lot of um I'm taking a lot of positive steps in my life. I'm really excited for my future.
Okay.
Um, we can talk about that off camera.
Yeah, after that, yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
fabulous. I'm glad.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, today I kind of wanted to talk about what we were talking about, not like the last serious conversation that we had about family and stuff. And I had touched on like um, like my family's background and uh like how did our parents get sucked into the way they got sucked into Rama's, and what made them fall for their BS, I guess, for his BS. You know what I mean?
Like what made them so susceptible to it in the begin? What made them be so susceptible to him in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. So, like, here's an example that I'm going to use. Um, my son Parker, um, like, he has certain disabilities. Not, I shouldn't say certain disabilities. When he was younger, uh, he was in some special ed classes and that kind of thing, and he grew out all of that and everything. But still, there's a vulnerability that he is um, preconditioned to. So it's really easy for people to take advantage of him.
Okay.
And it's something that he's learning. And as he experiences more, he's understanding more and he like can read people easier and stuff. But that is always going to be something that he is always going to struggle with and have to be aware of and keep an eye up.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I remember me being younger and, what made Rama realized that I was a stubborn little person and wouldn't bow down to anything. Um, so what do you feel like made your parents susceptible to that kind of thing? You understand what I'm saying? Like
I
what
think
about
so.
their childhood that made them grab onto somebody like Rama and
Mhm.
get sucked in and believe everything just so wholeheartedly? Um,
Um, yeah, I think I know what you're asking. Well, first of all, I think that um the 70s, in the 70s, especially, the early 70s was what they call the Jesus movement anyway. It was just,
okay,
the culture was just coming off of the potheads, of the 60s. And so it was sort of this movement of, free love and smoke pot to we need to find Jesus, but not everybody was necessarily happy with what was being taught in mainstream churches. I
okay,
think that's just a generalizing statement. Um, Specifically for my parents, my mom was born in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, to immigrant parents.
okay.
Um, my grandpa was
Immigrant
from
parents from where?
my grandpa was from Italy,
Okay.
and my grandma was from the Netherlands.
Okay, so
Uh,
she was first generation. Your mom was first generation.
yeah, I'm second
Okay.
generation here.
Okay.
And my grandpa was raised Roman Catholic in Italy, which now you understand why Rama hated us so much and threw that in my face and in my aunt's
All the
face.
time. Yeah.
Yes. But as a young man, when he came to this country, he was 16, and he came here because his dad was dying in a veterans hospital in Milwaukee. So when he came here, he decided for himself to embrace the evangelical theology, which is um, like the Assemblies of God, the
Okay.
evangelical, like
Okay. I call them the hallelujah. They like,
I think your family was part of that movement too.
yeah.
And so by trade, he was a barber, but he was also an Assemblies of God minister. So, and then my knowledge of my grandma, who we called Nani, my knowledge of her faith is limited, but she was raised with a strong belief in Christ. And I mean, her husband died when he was 49. So
Oh, wow.
I know it from a glioblastoma way back then. So, she was left with kids, two like twins in college and two little kids. Like I think they were like 8 and 9 or something like that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was her faith that really sustained her. So I know that she was raised with that. But then it helped her become a pastor's wife. She really fell into that role really well.
Yeah.
My mother is the oldest of 5 kids, and
Okay.
she was named Mary, and her middle name is Anne. But and according to my mom, she was named that to appease her Catholic grandmother in Italy.
Ah.
Because my grandma in Italy was not happy that my grandpa had left the Catholic Church, so to speak. And so to appease her, they named her Mary. And she has not liked that. And so I'm not sure when her name included her tag along middle name, but she's always been known as Mary Ann after that
Yeah.
because of the Catholic inference.
Okay.
Uh, my grandparents moved from Sheboygan, Wisconsin to Merrill, Wisconsin, and then eventually to Wausau, where my grandparents are now buried. Um, back back in those days, the assemblies were very strict. Like women had to wear skirts below the knees. They couldn't wear makeup. They had no low clip, like what I'm
Right.
wearing and what you're wearing
Would be a big
was
no-no.
right. They couldn't wear those. Um, so I think that the way that my mom was raised set her up to feel that Rama's restrictions wasn't a very large leap.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense to me why she's still there and why she has no qualms at all about this complete disconnect from the
From
children to whom she gave life, because that's how the theology back then that she was raised with was.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
had to live by a certain set of
Rules
rules and
and
circumstances, and then if you didn't, people just disconnected from you.
yeah.
And this way of life or this way of thinking has just been ingrained in her for 80 some years.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we now expect her to change?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be scary for her to now leave this cult and try to live how we are living. It'd be super foreign to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it would be scary. Dad was born in Chicago, Illinois, again
okay.
to immigrant parents.
Okay.
Both of them are Scandinavian, and were the youngest children of huge families. They were the youngest of these enormous families. Like by the time my grandpa was born, his oldest sibling had already immigrated here
Okay.
as an adult. By the time my grandparents were married and had my dad, they were already in their early 40s.
Okay.
So my dad was an only child, which I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine being an only child. Like
I know.
and my kids can't even imagine being an only child.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being an only child? Like, ugh. But anyway, he was raised in the Baptist church, in the Duluth Baptist Tabernacle. I think that sounds familiar to me. And Dad told me that his mom was the one who influenced his faith in God mostly. Like his dad went to church and did all of those things too, but his mom was the most that influenced him. His mom didn't wear makeup or wear pants either. And so I wonder if that wasn't just a part of the culture
Yeah.
in mainstream Christianity back then.
Yeah. Could be.
I'm not sure. I'm not a Christian scholar. I'm, whatever, so I'm not sure, but I wonder. So maybe restrictions were looked on as like discipline and as like honoring God. Because think about, they would say you have to wear your Sunday best.
Yeah.
And that means you have to dress to the nines, and you have to wear, like, women wore hats and they wore like their best
And yeah.
to church.
Yeah.
And whereas nowadays people wear nice but casual to church. But then you have assholes like Rama that came along and knew all of this stuff and then exploited that for his own gain. So you have these innocent people. And then, I mean, I asked my dad that poignantly, and he said that he and mom were just looking for something that they didn't feel like they were getting in mainstream church.
That's exactly what my bio parents said.
And
That was
my dad's mom, so my grandma Hulda, gave my dad his first Bible. Now, isn't this super sweet? My grandma gave my dad his first Bible, and on the inside of the cover, she wrote, "This book will keep you from sin, or sin will keep you from this book." Many decades later, my dad gave my oldest child her first Bible on her 10th birthday. And on the inside, he wrote the same inscription.
oh.
I know.
Oh.
Um,
What do you feel like, so like I know your dad was a pastor or whatever before, and that's how he met Rama. So he was preaching, Rama was preaching.
well, so my parents weren't in a mainstream church. They
Okay.
were, they went to this little place. It was like, it had been this place called the Restoration Ministry Center. It had been, I believe, I was told it had been an old nursing home.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but I think that that's what it was. It had been an old nursing home and it had been turned into a church.
Okay.
And Denver Jones was the main minister, and my dad was the associate. I think there was another associate too, but my dad was assistant or associate. And somehow Denver knew of or met up with or whatever with Rama. And that's how Rama came to speak at the center.
Okay.
And that's where so many people, like including those 18-year-old kids from the high school, all got roped in to the cult. And because my dad was a pastor there, plus he worked for IBM, that's how he just became sort of one of the leaders or elders in getting so many people involved.
Yeah, that's just.
I mean,
The biggest.
how did
Go ahead.
Randy and Sarah meet Rama? I know you said that Sarah was a college student in Merrill, right? And I know that Rama
Madison.
Madison. Isn't she from Merrill though?
I believe her family is from Merrill. I think her dad or somebody, or her brother or somebody.
Because Rama had a big, like, a nice size, because Rama started preaching, I think, in 73, and he had followers from the Merrill area.
Yeah. I know because like my aunt as well, There were 2 or 3, maybe even more than that, but I know for sure there were 2 or 3 people that were going to Madison College. And he
Oh,
went to Madison and started preaching. And that is where
Rama did?
Sarah, yeah, he would go around to colleges. And
Oh,
they were at a college, some college Bible thumping thing. And that is where Sarah and, well, she's not, she's divorced now from my uncle, but that's where they met him there.
huh.
Um,
Mm.
and that's how Sarah was introduced to him, was in a, like a
So he,
gospel
so he went to
Christian
colleges.
colleges. Yes, he went around to colleges.
I didn't know.
And that's how she got sucked in. Now, I'm not 100% sure on everything, but from what I understood and from the different questions that I have asked, I believe that she grew up in a very alcoholic family. Her mother and father were very Catholic and very Catholic oriented, but there was big drinking problems in the family. And I know that there were some abandonment issues and that kind of stuff. And she has pretty much told me the same thing. She was seeking for something, she was looking for something. And when she heard Rama preach, it was like it spoke to her soul. And voila, there she is. Um, and I know that there were some other things had happened where Rama had manipulated different situations to make her believe some stuff, like, miracles happen and like stupid stuff that, you think about it now, or you look back at it now and you're like, how the hell were you so gullible? But she was so searching for something, for love. She was searching for love. She was searching for acceptance. She was
For
searching
love in
for
all the wrong places.
places. Yep. And she didn't have the family life that she had always dreamed. And at the very beginning, the cult was a big old family. There were no children, so there's just all these young adults
It's kind of like
walking around and, oh, I'm so in love with Jesus, and
oh,
doing all of that kind of stuff, that she just fell for it. And then by the time she had children, it was almost too late. She was just blinded. She had her blinders on, and it didn't matter what anybody said. And then my biological dad, his parents were in it.
oh, they were
His,
Pentecostal.
yeah, and
That's
they
what
were,
assemblies is. Yeah, they're
yes.
Pentecostal.
And the whole, I'm going to say this and it might sound bad, but it's the truth. The whole like Fayus clan is very Bible thumpish. Um, and I know it's probably really bad to say, but that's the only way I can think of it. And I don't mean it in a bad way. Some people go over the top and they just push it on you. Not all of them push it on you, but all of the older Fayus generation they're all um, Bible thumpers. But
Really want you to believe what they believe.
yes. Well, and it's not even that. It's the more fact that I'm willing to listen to you and have a true conversation with you. But if you're not willing to see the other side, or even um like acknowledge that there's another side, or like just hear the other side out, you don't even have to agree with the other side, but hear it out and know what you're fighting against. Like it doesn't matter what your belief system is, you should always be willing to hear another belief system or another thing or something else, and be able to justify and back up your belief system with common sense. And if
Yeah,
you can't do that, that's cool. Believe what you want to believe. But then you can't make somebody feel bad for not believing the same thing you believe, because there's no common sense there. You know, it's just like, I believe that there is something bigger and better out there. How the hell do I know that there's something bigger and better? I don't really know. It's just a feeling that I have inside. It's something that I feel deep down inside of my bones. But there's no logical proof that it's just called faith. And where did I get the faith from? I'm not exactly sure. It's just from experiences. It's just from everyday life and all of that kind of stuff. So um I just I forgot where I was going with that. I totally lost my what was I
your,
saying?
your train of thought.
Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
Like you're willing to have intelligent debate or intelligent
Yeah,
conversations.
yes,
People who have
yes.
opposite, uh,
Viewpoints or whatever it may be. I'm
yeah,
willing to hear you out. I'm willing to even acknowledge that you may be right in some things and I may be wrong. And it comes down to nobody knows for sure. We're all taking our best guess at it. So why can't we just be all honest about it? And
I
that's my,
I think, I mean, since probably in the last 2 years, I've really taken a deep dive in my own faith, and I've come to the realization and the belief that I'm at the core I'm Christian, but I also am not so um, self-righteous that I think that I hold the only answer. And like, I don't think, I think that I can learn from anybody at any time what this, it doesn't matter what religion they are.
yes,
Like, I think there's a lot of things um, that I connect with from in the Buddhist faith. Um, I find that most people who are Buddhist have very calm and peaceful lives, and it really is common. It just feels very common sense to me. So I don't think that there's a one like a
one all be all.
right. I don't think there's like I think there's good in everything, and I think there's bad everywhere.
Yep,
And I think that once you are just closed off to thinking that my way is the only way, then you are just closing the door to anything good that could come your way
come your way.
ever.
Yeah, yeah,
And and I mean, I raised my kids doing Hanukkah, and um my kids still enjoy doing that, and so I will do that as long as they want to do it, because it coincides with Christmas, and it's all about miracles, and it's all
yeah,
still about lights and gifts and charity and the light of the world. And who is anybody to tell me what I should and shouldn't believe?
yeah.
And people can take their opinions and shove them, as far as I'm concerned.
I've kind of always been that way.
And I mean, I have too, but I think I've not been so vocal in letting people know. I've been so much more closed closed
Sorry,
off.
my neighbor is I'm not going in the house. I'm going to stay outside, but my neighbor has decided he's going to work on his nice little truck down the road and
Uh,
so we'll
so
have
anyway,
to ignore that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just heard that. I was like, ah.
well,
Um,
that's what happens when you're outside.
I know. I know. Um, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about that we were talking about was about toys. So I have this conversation with my kiddos all the time. And of course, my kids always come back and joke and say, yeah, you ran uphill both ways to school and, and that kind of stuff. But
We did.
you were one of the very first kids that were born into the cult. Um, when I was younger, there was no toys of any kind whatsoever. What was it like for you at the beginning? Because well, I wasn't born, so I don't remember. Um, did Were there toys allowed in the beginning? Did you have toys? Did the older kids have toys? Um, what
Um,
was, because, well, even clothes. I mean, we would sneak clothes and they all got ruined and hula hoops got torn apart and
So yes, I remember having toys. I don't know if the toys were specifically purchased for me or if they were just residual toys left over from when they were heathens.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Like there were, I don't remember them being a massive amount of toys. I just remember them being a little small amount of toys. And they were just for a couple years. Like I
Okay.
remember having a toy phone and I remember using it to call Rama on. Like most people would call, like kids who have a phone, they would call their grandma or
Yeah.
their grandpa or aunts, whatever. No, I called Rama. And I
Yeah.
remember calling Rama one time because my sister and my mom were going to go shopping and I wanted to go with them and they wouldn't let me. So I ran to the bedroom and got on my toy phone and called Rama because I was I was under 5, and at that young age, it was ingrained in me already that Rama was the end all be all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
he overruled parents.
and I came out of that room and I remember running to them and saying, "Brother says I can go." And they're both laughing. But that just speaks to our culture.
Yeah.
I remember having a toy xylophone and I remember playing it as a xylophone, but I also remember like wrapping it up as a baby, pretending it was baby because this, part of it
Yes.
was me and I remember wrapping it up. I don't know if I recall actually doing this or if people have just told me I did this, but I would like pick it up and hold it. And then I would walk into rooms and I would throw it. And I would say, "I can't handle this child."
Uh,
Where did I learn that, do you think?
or parents.
So somebody said that about me.
Well, yeah, or you heard it from,
I heard it from somewhere. But
yeah.
I asked somebody, and she
Okay.
said most likely somebody said it about me.
Yeah.
So if that is the truth, in how early was that ingrained in me that I wasn't able to be handled?
Handled. Yeah.
Um, we had a swing set in our backyard, and I remember my older brother and I were out there, being out there. I remember though I've like memories of playing on that. The year that my younger brother was born, a midwife from the cult came to attend the birth because he was born at home.
Okay.
And we were sent out. My brother and me and our younger sister were sent outside to play on the swing set. And I assume now, just because I'm an adult, that it was to shield us from all the noise.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I remember being sent outside to play on that swing set.
Okay.
And that was in June of 1975. I mean, 79.
Okay.
And within a short time after that, I remember watching it being torn down.
Okay.
So that midwife ratted us out to Rama for having that swing set. So in 1979, I was 4.
Okay.
Any kids younger than me in our family don't remember that swing set probably.
Okay.
So I remember the swing set, but I held that against that woman for the rest of my time in Chano, and I disliked her because of that. But that's how ingrained that was in me too. Like we grew up holding grudges
Oh
because
yes.
we would have something that we loved and liked so much, and then somebody would rat us out and it'd be taken away.
Yeah, I think that is why I don't hold possessions like or objects like close. Like
And I'm the opposite.
well, yeah, because
Possessions to me are all I have.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, you could go either way with that. Just not
Mhm.
care ever, you know. And I think
Mhm.
that's the way I went. I just didn't care. I knew they could take it away from me, so it didn't matter. And I think, yeah, yeah.
And then eventually, then I think toys were just all abolished. I don't think that by the early 80s there were toys at all. I think
Oh,
they're probably, I don't recall this at all, but I'm sure there was an edict at some point issued that
that
and any toys of any kind of any fun were supposed to be
were,
gotten rid of. And so everything was just,
well,
we
I don't
had to
remember ever
use,
having
yeah,
any
we use our
toys.
imagination.
Yeah. I mean, we played in the mud. Like we made mud babies, mud houses. We made, everything was made out of mud. Like that's what or Kleenex boxes. That was a big one. I mean, we used to,
Band-aids and the like band-aids used to come in like
yeah,
tint and boys would use them for dump trucks, pretend they were
yep,
dump trucks
yep, yep.
because
Oh,
they
there was all
they
kinds of stuff
fun.
that we,
Or I remember like stuffing clothes, like sweaters, buttoning up the fronts of the sweaters and
butters,
stuffing them so that the arms would stick out, pretending they were babies. Or my
yeah.
siblings and I would give each other rides on my dad's office chair until we broke it, and then he was furious. Or we would take a roll of tape and roll it back and forth for
Fourth,
hours and hours, hours and hours. We got so good at that.
yeah.
Um,
I was gonna
or
say
remember,
whenever we did have toys or clothes that we would get our hands on, if our parents found them, they were destroyed, like burnt, cut up, thrown away. Our hula hoops, they had the marbles in them or whatever. And that was one of the things I remember, chasing marbles out of the hula hoops as they were cut up
um,
because those were a sin to have.
do you remember the silicone spray?
Silicone spray.
The paper towel girls always had silicone spray in
Oh,
their bibs.
yes. Yes.
We had
Yes.
that at our house, and we found out that if you spray silicone spray on painted cement and then you put your socks on, it becomes a makeshift skating rink.
Oh.
So in our basement, we made a skating rink, and then we didn't tell our mom. So she came down the stairs and went, "Whoo!"
That's funny.
We would find like abandoned balls. People, other
Yeah.
neighbors or other kids. We would just find abandoned toys or abandoned balls that
Yeah.
um, using landscape rock as balls.
Yeah. We
We had
played marbles a lot with pebbles.
lots of land like relay races. I think kids have been called were the fastest runners around.
Yeah. Well, we always challenged each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the biggest things that we enjoyed as kids was the competition that we had all the time. I mean,
Everything was
anybody,
competition though.
everything.
I remember when I was in school, and I didn't ever go to kindergarten. I was in school from first grade through halfway through fourth, and then I was
Okay.
out. I remember stealing from my classmates, and I don't recall that if I knew that stealing was wrong. And I'm thinking back, and I don't recall that if like I don't recall having that like convicted feeling that it was wrong,
Okay. Yeah.
but I would just take it and like pretend it was mine.
Yeah.
But it never worked because the other kid would say, "Hey, that's mine," and I would say, "No, it's mine." And of course, it didn't work because I wasn't a good liar. But for fuck's sake, I just wanted to fit in and be normal.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
And like after Christmas breaks, kids would come back and they would go around, the teacher would go around the room and ask everybody, oh, what'd you get for Christmas? And everybody would say, oh, we got this, and I got this, and got this, and got this. I would listen. I would just pay attention to what everybody else got. When it came to my turn, I would say, oh, I got a Cabbage Patch doll, and I got this, and I got this, and I got this. I would just listen to what everybody else said,
Okay.
just to fit in. And I didn't
Yeah.
get any of that shit at home. But my classmates didn't know. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Some, us, we just had to learn really fast how to assimilate, how to get in. And it's not lying. It's called self-defense. It's called fitting in. It's called survival.
Yep. Hold on, Michelle.
We didn't have toys, but when we break
I'm not
shit,
sure, Bill. You got to go over and talk to him. He's in the back. Doesn't matter where I go. If I'm in the house, it's kids. If I'm outside by the garage, it's my husband. If I'm out in the front yard, it's my neighbors. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it didn't matter. If we didn't have toys, it didn't matter if we use our imagination. But if we use stuff that wasn't meant to be played with and it broke, then we got our asses.
Yeah.
So you were born 7 years after me, so I guess we've already covered that. You didn't have the luxury of toys.
No, we didn't have any toys. Well, I shouldn't say I stole from Walmart. We stole like basketballs, hula hoops. I mean, Walmart and Kmart were our favorite places to go, and at least, I don't know, one of us siblings, it usually was like a rock, paper, scissors, or a competition of some sort that we would decide who it was that was going to be going to the store that week to steal the toys that we wanted.
That brings up like a point to me that I'm just thinking of right now. And I'm only bringing up this point because it's a common topic, like especially in the news. And it didn't occur to me until I started this journey of figuring out who I am and where I've come from.
Yeah.
But I've felt or learned through everything that most of my life has been survival mode. And the definition of that is that you do things out of character simply for survival mode, or simply for survival, right?
Yeah.
What other genre of people do things that are out of character simply for survival? Poor people.
Yeah.
Poor people. People who need to eat.
Yeah.
People who want to put shoes on the feet of their children.
We were poor people. He made us poor.
Absolutely poor people.
Yeah.
And here we are in our 40s. We're admitting we stole.
Mm-hmm.
We're admitting we did things that society is gonna, and maybe even our siblings who are younger than us are gonna say, oh, she's such a horrible person because she stole, and we never stole.
Yeah. Well, I stole.
Well,
I stole a lot of stuff.
Let me tell you, sometimes you steal to sell the stuff so that you can get money to feed your children. When I was raising children by myself, I had 5 of them. Their father didn't pay a dime for their medical, for their dental, for their vision, nothing. Our divorce decree is public knowledge. Anybody can go look it up. It was all on me. So for anybody to judge anything that I did to provide for them, how dare they, right?
Yeah.
But that's on par with, we just wanted to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
Well,
really any different.
no. Well, and not only that, but I don't know, when you're raised with a certain amount of like hardships, well, like you already said it. You were in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode your whole life, even though you are technically not in the cult, you are still in that frame of mind. So it's almost like you're still in that fight or flight mode, or so you're not even thinking clearly. So the fact that as an adult having children to feed, you would just fall back on what you learned as a kid because that's the only tools that you have. So if that is how you saw your parents
I suppose.
do it, you know what I mean? Then that's just like I remember creditors calling our house all the time. And Sarah being just so upset about all of these. And she was actually so happy when Rama said no more phones. And the reason she was so happy, there was no one could call him anymore. And I specifically remember just the dread and the look on her face when she'd get a phone call and
You
they
mean she
couldn't
didn't
do
pay her
it. Or
bills?
no, she couldn't. They were giving all their money to Rama. Um, and so like, and then we didn't have any food. And, we had like, I just remember them talking about what they were going to do next and how they were going to do it. And that is literally how they would survive. They would beg, borrow, and steal. And they would, with the most utmost, like, I'll pay it back, I'll pay it back. But if you don't got the money, you just don't got the money to pay it back. You just can't. So, I mean, Rama used to get them to call relatives and get I mean, like, you wouldn't believe the amount, well, you would believe, but people wouldn't believe the amount of manipulation that Rama would do when it came to like finances and how that has affected all of us kids in our adult lives now, because we've all had to figure out how to do finances because we've all seen our parents struggle immensely and never have enough, or they couldn't even do a budget, because even if they did do a budget or something like that, Rama would say, oh, you need to give that money here because it's a blessing. The Lord will bless you later on. So there
There's a
goes their
need.
budget. Yep.
There's a
So there
need.
goes their budget. There goes the food money for that week, or there goes the clothes money for school that week, or whatever it may be. So I think a lot of, I mean, like, especially for me, when being around kids that I was helping raise or having my own, those kind of things, it really helped me having stepchildren, honestly. Those are the things that I noticed popped up right away in my brain. And I was very severely affected by the creditors calling and
Mm.
watching my parents just be upset. I mean, Sarah would be so upset that she would be like bawling her eyes out and crying that she couldn't make this happen or whatever. And then, Randy would get home, and then you would hear them talking in the bedroom or wherever they were trying to keep it away from the kids. And
It's
um,
awful.
I
It's
just,
awful.
yeah, it is one of the most, well, everybody knows what it's like to have financial trouble. And
Not
we've all
everybody.
been, well, I would, even if you're very wealthy, there's some financial issues or whatever. You know what I mean? They may not know what it's like to be like literally no food in your house and have to like go outside and scrounge in the um, woods, but everybody knows what it's like to have some kind of financial trouble. And I feel like Rama kept every single adult who had any income coming in on such a high level of stress financially wise, that they were always in the fight or flight mode when it came to that, unless they just didn't care anymore. But the parents that cared, or the people that cared about owing other people, like good people, I guess, like, it affected all of them. So I forgot where I was going with that.
Did you ever break anything that belonged to your parents?
Well, we broke everything that belonged to our parents.
I remember my
Kitchen
dad.
chairs.
I remember my dad saying, when you have children, it's either broken, ruined, stolen, lost.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't have a whole lot of furniture. We didn't. I remember, well, I'm pretty sure we had more than just one bed, but for the longest time, we only had the one bed, Randy and Sarah's bed. All of us kids slept on the floor. And we would just sleep in one big, huge, long line. We had like 3 blankets on the floor or whatever. And then all of us would lay down in a line, and then we'd have 3 large blankets and cover us up. We didn't.
Typical cult style.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't really. Yeah. I don't think we didn't. And I think we had some chairs, a recliner, and a couch at one point in time that got broken.
How did they
And
break?
us kids shoving and pushing one another on the,
Did you ever get your ass beat?
yeah, the scar. Well, now the scar's over here, but right here in the middle of my head, I want to say it was my brother Baser. We were goofing around, and actually we were fighting over the chair, who was going to sit in the chair, because we only had 2 or 3 kitchen chairs, and there was how many people? So the kitchen chairs were a fight. And we were fighting over it, and I was sitting in it, and I think Baser pushed or popped the legs on the chair, and the chair went like backwards or whatever, and I flew forwards, and my head hit the door jamb and busted my head open. Baser got his ass handed to him that day.
Bye.
Well, Randy, when he got home, and everybody else. And really it was kind of my fault. I had this thing where I like to antagonize him because he was so fun to fight with. So I would purposely piss him off and then run away and have him chase me, or try to get him to punch something.
Does
So
does he still hold that against you today?
no, he laugh about it now.
Oh,
Yeah. So there was one time my brother and I was standing in front of the kitchen window, and I was calling him Bumblebee with glasses on. and I was trying to get him all riled up while he went to punch my face, and I ducked, and his fist went through the window. And I had purposely stood in front of the window knowing that he was going to do that. The garbage can was underneath that window. And I had even moved the garbage can over so that way I could stand directly in the center of the window instead of off to the side. So I knew his fist would go through the window. And I just targeted him until, like, I don't know, he came over to punch me, because Baser was so easy to get, man. He had a temper. It went from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. And so we could like pick on him, and he would just like, come after me. And after a little while, I don't know, I think I was younger when we would fight and stuff. Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't take any shit from anybody, so I got beat up a lot, or they tried to beat me up a lot. My brother.
we're gonna take a break really quick,
Okay.
and we'll come back with part 2.
Okay.